Welcome to the RDC meeting. Will you please stand and join me for the pledge? Let's see, could we do the roll call? Here.
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 Thank you. Did you guys have a chance to read the minutes for April 24th? Were there any corrections or is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Is there a particular reason why the screen is...
Yes, I'm trying to mirror the screen for the agenda, and it was there, and then it left. So
That's
you can-
fine. I don't know if the folks at home can see that, but there's a hockey player up there, which
That
is
is
cool.
my-
I wonder if that
is
had...
my son being intense, so
Oh, cool.
I was trying to be good, and yeah,
Gotcha.
we will turn it off.
Oh, no worries. Like I say, it's no problem at all. I thought it was maybe our new ice rink or something. That was the
That
thing.
would have been a good, yeah, that would have been a good one.
So, payment of the claims. Did everyone have a chance to take a look at the claims, and were there any questions?
No questions? Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, so that gets us to our staff reports. Is that just you, Mr. Bowditch?
I don't have any other staff reports other than under items number 7, old business. I do have 7.2, 7.3, 7.4, 7.5, and under new business, 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, 8.8. I'll go over those at that time.
Okay, perfect. So we'll jump then to 7.1 under old business. Mr. Lack, discussion on signage for column by the fire department entering Founders Square.
Speaking with staff, I'd like to table items 7.1 and 8.4 for further discussions with staff for a resolution.
Does that count as a motion? Yes. So is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That gets us to 7.2, consideration home TIF RHDPS for Bower Farm and Sandy Trail.
So the residential home development programs that have been developed, I'm going to ask for one more month to table, only because this past Tuesday and Wednesday, we did, as the city with the mayor and other individuals with the city's representatives, met with the individual developers for which, including Bower Farm, Sandy Trail, as well as other residential developments that are contemplated or that are being submitted to the city. We met with them to discuss and negotiate a potential, what we would call a TIRF, a tax increment revenue imposed fee, so that they would front load a payment to the Redevelopment Commission for the privilege and use of tax increment revenue in the future to defray public improvement and public right-of-way costs, infrastructure costs. So that impacts the way the program works, and so they've all all are in agreement that the structure would work, and this would be an infusion of dollars to the Redevelopment Commission and the city for use of fire, police, and ambulatory public safety services, as well as structuring the agreement. So until that agreement is approved, I would hold on the program. But the mayor and I, a number of the, in fact, all the developers did ask. They would like to see the program first. They would like to see any agreement before they agreed to it, and they wanted to make sure it was done within the next 30 to 45 days, and we said that.
And I think one of the
So-
big things is that we made it really clear that we're not trying to negotiate different amounts exactly for each. I mean, numbers will be different because of the size of neighborhoods, the amount of
Right.
investment involved, but to put it really simply, the formula that I think that you've created, Mr. Bowditch, was one that they all understood, and
Yes.
it creates a really good savings plan, and then it allows for money then to come to the city.
Right, so basically 75% of the tax increment would be pledged to the repayment of an obligation for the cost of infrastructure and right-of-way improvements for their project. The 25% until such time that the project is fully built out, meaning fully built out or net fully built out at 85 to 90%. We'll determine that number. I would choose to go with 90% because you always have holdout lots. They would pay that 25% for the annually, whatever that calculation is, annually until they are fully built out. So the advantage is the Redevelopment Commission would receive that 25% upfront. The second advantage is it basically puts the developer in a position to build out their subdivision quicker. The sooner they build their subdivision, the sooner they don't have to pay the TIRF, tax increment revenue imposed fee. And then, once it's fully built out, they would get their 75% of the tax increment revenue, we would keep the 25. So it's a good deal for everybody, actually.
My question would be, who are the key players in this decision?
Yeah, so
Which decision?
you're talking about the, how to do it? So it gets negotiated through the Redevelopment Commission here, and then the final agreement is voted on by the city council.
Yep, exactly, right. So that would be, we'll have those all for you next month. So that's on that. Would you like me to go to 7.3?
That'd be perfect.
So 7.3, GIS mapping on the allocation area boundaries for the Portage Southport allocation area, including all amendments. I did meet with Joe Eberts, who once worked with the city, now works for Abbenmarsh. He has put together, based upon all the information, resolutions, and documents provided by Sender Dalton Associates, and I want to thank them for providing those documents to Joe, of all the designation and the history of the designations, including amendments. Joe has gone through, and I met with him this morning to go through and identify to make sure he had everything. Basically, the GIS system has been set up where if you were to click on the original allocation area, it'll show you on the map. If you click on the next layer, it'll keep adding through every amendment. It'll show those parcels. If you click on those parcels, it will show when the parcel will sunset. So what we're going to have, and he's going to go through this at the work session for the June meeting. What he's going to do is I'll talk about TIF for about 45 minutes and how it works, tax increment financing, how it works and how it's used. And then we'll have him show you on the screen how the actual GIS system will work for the Redevelopment Commission and the city, and be an economic development tool for the city, but also the Portage Economic Development Corporation. So he'll have that next month, but it is pretty nice and pretty sleek.
Well, thank you. Are there any questions on that? Let's go to 7.4, update on Game Time Solutions.
So Game Time Solutions, I did speak with David Uran, who has been in communications and has been working with the Parks Department. To date, he has met with both Kelly and John. Kelly's superintendent and John the assistant superintendent. They have gone out and viewed and looked at all the assets that the Parks Department does have, meaning land, buildings, as well as equipment. And he will be available. We'll invite him next month to come and give any report that he may have or the next steps. And in the interim, we'll schedule a meeting with the mayor as the president and myself, with him to go over the next steps in his agreement to determine assistance with sponsorships, any funding sources for relocation of the baseball fields from their current location to an alternative location. So he has been working with the Parks Department directly.
And then we get to 7.5, schedule the next RDC meeting for commission overview for allocation areas and impacts for the 2025 tax rate and levy impacts pursuant to IC 36725-8A.
So this is the So this is the work session for the next, this is the work session, the second work session of the year. You had asked to put together a work session to provide an overview of tax increment financing, how allocation areas are designated, how they work, how tax increment financing is structured and works to benefit the economic develop, or the Redevelopment Commission and economic development of the city. The structure that we used at the March meeting was after our regular meeting. We held the meeting here, and that way it seemed to be much easier and more effective and efficient for everybody, and for scheduling for Sonia to be out either at the public library or an alternative site. It was becoming stressful as well as inefficient, and trying to find times that were available when we could be available here. So that is to ensure that we would have that work session. Now, ancillary to that is annually, the Redevelopment Commission is to provide an overview of the allocation areas to the overlapping taxing units, and that would happen at the July meeting. So this is somewhat in preparation of that presentation to all the overlapping taxing units, the county, the township, the schools, the library, any special taxing units, so that they understand where the allocation areas are, what's been collected, similar to the annual report, as well as how the funds are intended to be utilized and spent over the next 1 to 5 years. Now, that dovetails well into the work that Joe has been doing, because we can include that information in the history included in that report. So that overview, that's required by statute during the calendar year, but I'd rather get it done in the summer, if at all possible, with all the overlapping tax units and not waiting till December. So that's what that really was about. And included in that discussion will be the actual tax impacts as well as the tax levy impacts. So just as a precursor, whenever assessed value is captured in an allocation area that is less assessed value, that is in the net certified AV, which means your rate, if that AV was released, your rate would go down, and the impact, that's the impact to your tax rate, because you have more assessed value in the system. Your levy is always going to remain the same. Now, for your cumulative funds, which the school doesn't have one, I don't believe the township has one, the county does and the city does. If it is a cum fund, the cumulative funds are set by rate, by statute, and by rate. So it remains the same. So if you have more AV, if AV were to be released, more AV means more levy, less AV means less levy. So we can quantify what that impact is from a dollar standpoint, and that'll be available at the July meeting, but I can talk about that at the work session too. So
It's going to be, I think, particularly, I don't know what the right word is. I mean, certainly important. It's all important, but
yes,
for some of the things that we're embarking on, both with traditional TIF agreements and then things that are a little bit more creative, such as the home TIF program.
Right.
For people to understand what the real impact is and what it's not, I think is going to be
Right.
key for people understanding the net benefit to literally all the different stakeholders in our
Yes.
community.
exactly.
Dan, so is that next work session then on,
Our next meeting, June 26th. It'll be after. It'll be right here. So we'll take a 10, 15-minute break. If there needs to be a Portage Redevelopment Authority meeting, that could be in between, however that's scheduled, and we can do it after that. And, we'll try to complete it in about 90 minutes.
Included in our agenda for the next scheduled meeting states that it's on June the 19th?
That was wrong.
Okay.
For some odd reason this year, the numerical date seems to remain the same. So it happened in February and March also. I believe April was the same way. I don't know how that happened on the schedule.
So on that, does that get us to the new business of
Yes.
8.1, allocation area obligation assistance, Barnes and Thornburg?
So I believe in your packet is an agreement from Barnes and Thornburg. The Redevelopment Commission is in discussions considering a tax increment revenue bond on the entire district for the purchase of land as well as improvements on the north side. And so in this instance, Barnes and Thornburg, through one of its main attorneys, Tom Pittman, would be engaged to act as bond counsel and lead the charge in order to prepare the necessary documents, as well as work with myself, with the mayor as the president and the commission, and the municipal financial advisor in order to effectuate and complete the issuance of that obligation. So I would recommend approval. Tom is very highly respected within the state of Indiana and is, I would say, a godfather of tax increment financing.
Tom's been our bond counsel since we, started with this term of the, RDC. He quite literally wrote the book that
Right.
RDCs get from the state of Indiana when they start new, which is kind of a cool thing to have. And with the projects we're looking at the north side, along with some of the downtown, getting this put together so that we have something we can then review and ideally vote on, I think that Tom would be the right guy to do it.
Right. And typically, his costs are paid in the cost of issuance of the bond. So it doesn't come out of our general fund or allocation fund.
Make a motion to approve?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That gets us to number 2, consideration and request for funds for IT assistance on Bill Moran.
So there is also a request for IT assistance from Bill Moran. I would recommend approval of that engagement also. I would defer to either Sandy or Sonia on the actual services that are required, but it's assistance with our IT work with the redevelopment department and staff.
So this speaks to the work that we're doing right now in transitioning our IT agreements with the city and much of the IT issues that we have. I don't mean issues like problems, I mean issues like operations
Right.
very much overlap with RDC properties, in particular the police station, and also, this building as well. So when it comes to the work that Bill's doing with Trevor to get us ready for the new agreement we're going for, I believe this is a cost sharing with the RDC.
Right.
Because RDC has a IT impact.
Yes, exactly.
Would our share be the $1,600 a month, or our share would be a
That was
portion
my
of that?
understanding.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 That gets us to 8.3, payment IT assistance, Bill Moran. I take it this is kind of contingent on the first thing we
Yes.
voted on.
Yes.
Is this as simple as just making the motion to actually do the action, or?
I'll
So
make it.
is it included under the claims already? It is not, so it would be a motion to pay the invoice. It could be at a subsequent meeting.
And in the future, this will be like in claims under
Yes,
normal
exactly.
circumstances? I getcha.
Yes. Yeah,
I will make a motion to approve the payment then.
okay.
Do we know how much the payments are?
I believe it was 1,600.
Just 1 month?
I believe so.
It was submitted 1,600 for this month. If you should have that in front of you, and the back of the packets I gave you.
Yep.
In it, he describes what he did for that amount.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And then we've tabled the promenade sign. So 8.5, that gets us to real estate issues. Is it possible that Bill is here? Oh, I see him. He's coming up. He's going to be acting like I didn't know he was here already.
Good evening, Commissioners. I have 3 items for you tonight. The first one is relative to parcel 152-017 that you provided the appraisals for a few months ago. We've come to an agreement on the PSA, purchase sales agreement amount, and I put that document together. Tonight I need authorization for that document to be executed by the mayor, contingent upon legal review, obviously.
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to act upon it upon legal review.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
The next two issues are both relative to the Little League Field Sports Complex, trying to find land for them. We have two parcels on Samuelson Road. The first one I'll call the 17 acres north. We've received the two appraisals back on that literally while I was driving here today, so I don't have copies of them for you. But we have the appraisals back, so our next step would be to enter into negotiations with that landowner, since we did not write an LOI prior to doing the appraisals on this one. So we'll need to enter into negotiations with that landowner. If you could authorize the mayor to perform those duties, I'd appreciate it.
I make a motion to authorize the mayor to negotiate terms for those.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The next one is the 24 acres, same issue, Samuelson Road. I call it the 24 acre south parcel. We submitted an LOI a couple months ago that was rejected. We're going to resubmit a revised LOI. If I could authorize the mayor to sign the revised LOI contingent upon legal review and, of course, all of Title 36 requirements, because we have not done the appraisals on that property.
So moved.
Samuelson? Yes.
Properties are actually, oh, you go.
Second.
I'll just say, these properties are literally, they border each other.
Yep.
And so, I mean, it would certainly be in our interest to acquire both if we can. Acquire one, acquire the other, but our aim is to negotiate for both. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Thank you. I'll give you the copy.
So that'll get us to, Chief, before you stand up, 8.6, consideration request for grant gift funds for mobile data terminals. Oh, actually, sorry, Chief, I'll have you come up. I'm mixing this up with the mowers. We'll talk about the mowers in a second.
Good evening. I'm before you tonight to ask for permission to use the grant for purchase and upgrade of our mobile data terminals for our frontline apparatus and for our fire marshal. Our current MDTs are very outdated. As you know, with technology, if you don't stay on top of it, then it falls behind and doesn't work appropriately. Right now, the processors and the RAM is not adequate to run the upgraded dispatch software that was recently installed by the county. So I do, your packet, you may have the capital stack. We do have $13,000 and some $13,078 from a 2023 GEO bond available to us. And then I would be looking to spend $5,822 of our RDC grant for the purchase of these MDTs.
I will make a motion to approve $5,822 of the grant money for the purchase of new MDTs.
Second.
So we've
Before
got-
we move on to the next one, could I add something onto that real quick? We just received it in regards to the MDTs. We initially thought that our current brackets were going to fit, but we found out that they don't fit. They need an updated bracket. With that bracket, it's an additional $368.94 if you would be so inclined to approve that as well.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
How
And
much was the funds? 300 and,
$368.94.
thank you.
Thank you.
And then Chief, I had the opportunity to talk with Greg a little bit before the meeting. I'm not sure who all, seems like a lot of different people talk to each other about the mowers. I
Yes.
was going to request, I promise you, we'll make sure that you guys get mowed, but for the purposes of this meeting, I was going to ask the board if we could table this one, just because I think that there might be another way to solve it, if that makes sense, unless there was more discussion needed. I promise the grass will get mowed.
That's all right. We'll buy goats otherwise.
Out of your grant?
Maybe. Actually, I think we probably have somebody that has one or two.
I actually misunderstood this. I thought you guys were offering to give us lawnmowers, and then I saw you were asking for lawnmower. We were like, I think there's another way to solve it, but I'll talk to you at the after if you like, or
Okay.
we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Sounds good. Thank you.
That $300 after just took us too much by surprise. I'm kidding. Did we actually motion on that? Oh, do we have a formal motion to table that to our next meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have the 8.8 consideration schedule next work session. I believe we did
We
that.
jumped the gun on it.
Already?
We did it before, so we're all good on 8.8.
Okay. And then that gets us to 8.9, Attorney McClure consideration Wilmington Trust incumbency certificate, wow, for Marina Shores.
This is the certificate that we need to sign. The redevelopment commission needs to make a motion in a second, and basically this is the certificate of authority with M&T Bank and signatures that we're able to rely upon and not rely upon in a certificate of authority that is approved by the redevelopment commission. So we have a list of the individuals associated with M&T Bank that we can rely upon their signatures.
So we're just approving authority to sign?
Correct, that's all.
Motion to approve authority to sign.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And that gets us to Mr. Bowditch, 8.10, consideration resolution number 25.05, preliminary bond resolution.
So I had mentioned this earlier, that and this was the purpose for the engagement of Barnes and Thornburg for Tom Pittman to prepare all the documents. This document is a preliminary bond resolution which initiates the process to issue an obligation of the City of Portage, Indiana Redevelopment Commission under the Portage Redevelopment District, which is contiguous with the entire city and the city's boundaries. The intent of the bond is to effectuate and provide for the cost of various capital improvements, including all or any portion of roads, streets, bridges, pedestrian and bike trail, and ancillary right-of-way improvements in or serving the district, collectively known as the project, and the cost of selling and issuing the bonds. It is specific to the improvements for right-of-way and a bridge in the north side that would eventually connect the Ameriplex Drive or Burns Harbor Parkway, Burns Parkway, from where it terminates by NERPC up to US Highway 12, which would include a bridge and right-of-way improvements and everything discussed. The preliminary bond resolution, again, initiates that process for the next steps. The maximum principal of the bond, as included in the resolution, would be $10 million. The final maturity would be 20 years after the date of issuance, with an interest rate not to exceed 7%, and the debt payment on principal and interest would be due and payable from ad valorem taxes of the redevelopment department through the redevelopment commission. I would recommend approval in order to provide for the redevelopments commission funding of a much larger project of the bridge and road improvements. The state does require that the city and through any entities or departments have quote-unquote skin in the game, and this would put the skin in the game for the city of Portage.
Dan, if I could ask you, I think 2 questions that I believe are, well, actually maybe 3. I think I'm pulling a politician. I say 2, and then it becomes 3. When the bond like this gets created or established, are specific projects like listed and
Yes.
defined? So it's similar to like a park bond
Yes.
or something like that?
Yes. So this is a very broad approach because it's a preliminary bond resolution, but there will be subsequent resolutions and documents that come after this.
Narrow
But this
it
initiates
down.
the process.
And I only say that because, and I know don't think I've got like a secret like Hail Mary, or something going on, but in the event that we were to find additional funding, for some of the projects that we're looking at, whether that came in by a grant or from the state, and again, like I say, part of the reason that we're doing this is because we've investigated other avenues, and this seems to be the most appropriate, but is there room even after the bond to make use of such additional funding? Am I making sense? Say we have the bond to do the project, and then, I'm just making up a number, let's say $3 million came available that we could use for a part of the project. Is that still allowed to be used with the bond being in effect?
So you would be allowed to issue the bond up to a maximum of $10 million
We
for
would just
those
not go to the-
projects listed?
We just wouldn't go up to the maximum then? if
Well, you don't
additional-
have to go up to the maximum. We're just setting it at $10 million. Now,
Gotcha.
we've looked at the tax rate impact and such, so that and we'll continue to look at that as new certified AVs will come out in August, September. But this initiates the process to issuing the bonds for improvements to be made, that are imperative for other projects of economic development nature to occur in that north side area.
And that was gonna be my last thing. I mean, this is absolutely, I believe, a necessary thing for us to proceed with the projects that we've been
Yes.
planning and doing, and so,
Right.
just where I want to make sure I understood that piece of it.
Right.
Thank you.
And it's not the end of the bond. As it states, it is a preliminary bond resolution, so there are more documents to come and to be finalized. So this just initiates that process for Barnes and Thornburg to begin the process along with a municipal financial advisor in order to issue the bonds.
I have a question. Will we be able to have more information in terms of how many bonds are out there during one of our work sessions or
Yes,
at any
that'll
other
be at the
point?
next work session. Yes.
Oh, okay.
And that's included in the annual report that was provided to you also. Identifies the outstanding bonds and when they will be paid off.
Okay.
Yes.
That sounds good. Thank you so
So
much.
if you look back at your annual report, it will be in there.
So this
but we'll
one will
re-
be, not this one, because it hasn't been
This one won't
approved yet.
be in there because it
Okay,
doesn't
I just meant
exist. It's not in our
a
universe
current
yet.
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank
So this
you.
begins a long process, long meaning it's going to take a lot of documentation and work, but not only by bond counsel, myself, but also with the municipal financial advisor. But it is a document that when asked, when going for state or federal grants, we have a document that states we have initiated the process to have some funds in the game.
And that actually goes back to that skin in the game
Yes.
part. So even if we're seeking additional, funding and things, it shows
Yes.
that we have money put
Right.
into it.
Right, we've started the
Or
process.
started the process.
Exactly. So thank you very much.
For other business for the commission, I have at least one that I'm aware of, and I'd like to call Tracy to come up. This is a matter of some urgency, I think.
Yes. Good evening. I'm Tracy Marshall, General Superintendent of the Portage Utilities. So, little background on the issue we're having. So, we went for an SRF loan or bond last year, and it covered Northside Interceptor was one of it. It was also lift stations and UV at the plant. So on the Northside Interceptor, we had a design, a plan. Our engineers did everything, did the borings, did all the surveying, and then it was brought to our attention just before we were going to bid that RDC had purchased a piece of the property that this was going straight down the middle. So we were asked by the mayor and Bill to look for other ways to bring it through that piece of property, because it would significantly reduce the value of that property for you guys. So we did that, and in the process, it was time for, we didn't want to make SRF, have to delay the SRF bond closing and all that kind of stuff. So we built in a $500,000 cushion into our SRF to pay for the removal of this, the possible movement of this interceptor. So after the engineers completed everything, the bids came in, everything like that, it is now coming in, they said 300,000 over, but when I just calculated, it was $283,010 over the 500,000. So it was coming in $783,010 more. That was not built into our SRF, so what we're coming to ask is, could that portion of it be, since it was asked by us to change the route of it, can it be financed by RDC?
If I could just, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So $283,010. We were told 300 initially, but I guess they might have built in some cushion. So basically not to exceed 300,000. And this wouldn't have to be out of this year's budget. This is something that the project won't, we don't even have a start on the project date. So it could be something down the line in 2026, around there.
I think what I would say, and I've said this in a couple of different meetings, and I'm not sure what all the different meetings I've said it, but just to really reiterate, this is not the utilities coming and asking us for money for something they need. The utilities designed the interceptor in the absolute most, cost-efficient way, possible when it was going through essentially someone else's land with an easement. The RDC has now bought the land, and for our purposes, we would rather see the land be very resellable so that the land we bought can be sold at a higher value. The interceptor running through the current route very much devalues the land that we have, I believe, more than 800 grand.
Yeah, it would be, yeah, because we're putting 500 in. We're putting 500,000.
And so this was actually caught by Bill Rathjen. It was amazing that it was caught by him when he was doing some utility work. Mr. Hannon, you'll remember we had something of an emergency meeting, I believe like a week before everything went out, and you were instrumental in showing how it could be redesigned generally. They went and did this, but given the fact that it's not really on them that the route's being designed this way, it's really the private property owner, which is this body, asking them to preserve the value of their property. I think it makes a lot of sense for us, especially knowing that we're planning it in next year's budget to cover the cost of that part of the design. It's a little long-winded, but I just want to stress that it's not because utilities did anything wrong. They went above and beyond, and we asked them to do even more beyond. I think it might be good. This is recommendation. I would say probably not to exceed 300,000, just to give them some cushion in the event that it costs
Right,
more.
and there is the possibility that, depending on certain things, that it might come in lower than that. Lower than even the 283. I mean,
Kind of
there
like
is
the
that
bond we
possibility.
just did the preliminary for,
Yeah.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the cost of not to exceed $300,000 to move the interceptor off the RDC land.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate Tracy being here because I just felt that it'd be a much better thing if she explained it. And thank you. Oh, Chief.
I have one more thing, I apologize. A couple months ago, you had approved work for us to have water heaters installed to the fire department. The initial quote came in at $17,050, which was already paid. We did receive a change order from Circle R for the $1,575. That did not originally include the electrician's work. I'm just asking for approval for us to be able to pay out of our grant for the $1,575 for the electrician from Circle R to install our water heaters.
Motion to approve.
I'm
Second.
sorry?
We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other matters to come before the board? Oh, yes.
A couple other matters, Mayor.
Oh, yes.
I-
Okay, go ahead.
I would ask for your deference here. At last month's meeting, we did receive on April 14th a request for the educational grant from the Portage Township School Corporation. And there was addressed from Dr. Alanis for the purpose of student devices. I have reviewed it, and consistent with my review, I'd like to have that placed on the agenda for next month. I see no issues with it, but I know Dr. Amanda Alanis would like to be here to present the request in person and then make
Absolutely.
a formal.
And I'm
So-
sure she's possibly watching this meeting because she tends to watch them eventually.
Yes.
Dr. Allen is.
Yes, Alanis.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No worries. Oh, no, my favorite was telling somebody that your name wasn't Bodic and my name's not Benita.
Yeah.
It's just been, things happen, don't worry.
So that, if that could be placed, there's no motion, but just to let you know, that would be placed on the June meeting for the Redevelopment Commission.
If I could just elaborate real quick, because I saw the smile. I don't know if you were talking about mine or his, but it was actually rather amazing. It was the time that we had somebody, there was a company that was working on a certain design, and they were like, yeah, and I was kind of impressed by this certain design this company was showing. And I was like, man, and I noticed that the firm that had done it, and I was like, who worked on that? You know, the main guy was a guy named Mr. Bodic. And I'm like, wait a second. I think I know who you're talking about. You might remember that story, too. It was
Yes.
where there was the guy that you had to be the translator for, I think.
Yes. The only other item, I didn't know if this was to come before the commission this evening, was Resolution 2506. Is that to come before the?
I don't think we have that on tonight.
Okay.
That's going to be moved to another.
Okay, all right.
meeting. I don't think
Just
that-
checking.
I don't think that's right for today.
Okay, just checking.
All right. Any other matters to come before the board? And not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
And we're done.